only in theaters May 2nd. Welcome to Dickies Arena. The athletes are warmed up. They're preparing for semifinal number 1, the first semifinal of 2 semifinal sessions. Oklahoma, Florida, Missouri, Alabama will be in this session. The later session headlined by the number 1 team in the country, the defending champ, the LSU Tigers. Hello everyone, I am joined by a couple of Olympic medalists, Allie Raisman, Sam Peshek. Allie, let's start with you. Set up this session for us this afternoon.
So top 2 teams are going to advance to the final, and Oklahoma and Florida are the favorites, but you can't forget about Missouri and Alabama. Missouri's having one of their best seasons yet, and Alabama, they didn't quite start the season off the way they would have wanted to, but they're certainly peaking at the right time.
So a couple of underdogs there, but Sam, after last season, the talk's been about the Oklahoma Sooners. A meltdown last year at this competition, but looking for redemption here this year.
Yeah, they had some uncharacteristic mistakes that prevented them from qualifying to the finals, but they won the last 6 of 10 championships, so they've been really dominant. They're hoping to get back to business, and if you're looking for any data to support that, get this. More than 50% of their scores this season have been 9-9 or higher. That's what makes them a favorite in today's competition.
Oklahoma definitely locked in. Some legacy programs here in this session. Oklahoma, they've won 6 titles. Alabama, also 6. In Florida, they've got 3. But the Missouri Tigers are here too. And for more on them, let's go to the 4th member of our team, Taylor Davis. Taylor?
Well, Don, it's been a historic season for Missouri. The program's first ever 198 night session at SEC's and advancing to the NCAA championship. But head coach Shannon Welker told me there's been a shift in perspective. It's no longer enough to just be here. They're here to contend for a title and believe they have the talent to do it. They'll be starting on floor today, a huge event for them. So like Amari Celestine told me, we've been pedal to the metal all season. We're not letting up here today.
Absolutely not, Taylor. Shannon Welker's got them dialed in, and they're all going to get things going. This is semifinal number 1. Only 2 teams. Here is your meet format. All 4 teams compete simultaneously. You will see a whole lot of gymnastics today. 6 athletes per event. The top 5 scores count. If you've been following us all year, you know that. 6 judges now on each event. We saw 4 in the regional round. Now it goes to 6. They drop the high and the low and average the 4. And of course, the stream team is back on ESPN+. They're providing coverage of all the events this year. They cover specific teams, and we are joined by some great athletes. Kennedy Baker, Anastasia Webb will cover Alabama, Florida. Bridget Sloan and Trinity Thomas, a couple Gators. They'll be following Oklahoma and Missouri in this first session. Our 3rd session, Anastasia and Kennedy will cover Michigan State, Utah, and Bridget and Trinity will have LSU and UCLA. So that is a great addition to our coverage. As always, you get to see a whole lot of gymnastics. You should see all of it. What you should do, guys, is set up the ESPN Plus stream and then have us on the big screen, and you get it all.
I just want to know how many All-Americans and national championships collectively that group has. It's an incredible group.
Absolutely. We'll count those up later. Here's Jordan Paradise getting things started for Alabama on vault, their first event.
She's been so strong in this lead-off position, hop forward, but really nicely stretched body positions in the air.
Oklahoma starts off the competition on the uneven bars. Florida will be on balance beam. Missouri on the floor exercise. And here is Oklahoma, and Danny Sievers getting things going.
Danny is an athlete that's the first one on the floor and the last one to leave the gym. Coaches say she is the hardest worker, sticking these so close, just a half a tenth on that step.
Florida gets the lucky draw starting on beam. Guys, you've done the beam. How hard is it for Florida to start on this event? Such a tough event as we see Skylar Drazer getting things going.
Well, you can't change it, so you have to view it as a positive, and a team like Florida, they're ranked 2nd on beam, so it's a really strong event for them to get things going here. Skylar is one of those athletes that is the most strong-willed mentally, which is why she's the perfect person to be in this leadoff position for Florida.
This is called the 2-box in the business. As Raina Light and Missouri, right hand of your screen, they start on their best event, the floor exercise.
And Skylar on beam, she told me she prefers going first because she still feels warmed up and she has less time to get in her head.
Would be a really big big deal. I was going to say if she could start with a stick, but it was a hit. That was a really good routine. They're ranked second on beam, but it was their lowest scoring event at regional, so that's an area of improvement for Florida.
Yeah, and the SEC championships, they came off a record score on bars and then went to beam and let that title slip away. So important to start for Florida Gators.
And these athletes are all competing on podium, which is like a stage, and it often feels bouncier. So when you're watching these athletes on an event like floor, they have to adjust their timing, and then the lights in the arena are also really bright, so they've got to get really quickly aware of where they are.
Karis German, number 2 to go for Alabama, following a 9.8125.
1.5. Big hop forward vault, in my opinion, might be the toughest event to start in because you have so much adrenaline at the beginning of the competition. You got to settle in there.
That first leadoff spot is so critical to start these teams off on the right note. And Reina doing a great job for Missouri.
And a great event, as I said, their best event. They're ranked number 4 in the nation on the floor exercise are the Missouri Tigers. Sam, you mentioned vault. Vault's so critical because you can do what is basically a 10-0 vault, a perfect vault from board to mat. But it is the event where you can go from a 10 to a 9-8 so quickly if you take a big hop, like we saw from German moments ago. We'll see what that score is here in a minute as Lily Peterson, just a freshman, second person to go. Danny Sievers, a 9.825. Good start score for her.
I have been so impressed by this freshman class at Oklahoma. They have a 98.6% hit rate for Oklahoma. They have been throughout the double layout. Well done.
I think that might have been the best routine I've seen from her.
Lily's consistency is her superpower. It's hard to believe she's a freshman.
And the way she settles into these dismounts, watch her knees when her feet hit the mat. She bends and just absorbs the mat better than almost anyone out there.
Lily from White Bear Lake, Minnesota, and Flips Gymnastics. Actually, KJ Kindler, head coach of the Oklahoma Sooners. Her sister, one of the coaches, her sister Lori, one of the coaches there at Flips Gymnastics.
Lily got a 9.95 at the SEC championships. I expect her score to be just as big as that.
And I think for Oklahoma, that bar rotation is so big for them because they're tremendous on bars, and I feel like they should have an advantage over almost all the teams in the field. And if they don't get that advantage on bars, I think they put themselves in a tough spot. Obviously, Florida, tremendous on bars. Every team is good, but they really, to me, stand out, especially the way they land their dismount. You can see all the decimal places. Again, the reason so many decimal places for the first time this season, they're averaging 4 scores. Again, 6 judges per event. Drop the high, drop the low. You average the remaining 4. Thus, we're testing your math skills at home as we see Anya Pilgrim will be the second Gator after Skylar Drazer.
Really enjoy watching this athlete on beam because it doesn't matter how much pressure or what stage she's on. You could see her front foot had a hiccup and moved to the left, but she does not react. She just takes a breath and moves on. That's really a veteran move, especially in an event like balance beam. Very easily, one small mistake can turn into a really big mistake or even a fall. That's not usually what happens with Anya. She just has such a cool, calm demeanor.
Judges are looking for that 180-degree split. They'll take a deduction if the legs are not even.
Bringing in Hannah Horton for the Missouri Tigers on floor exercise, 9.7875 for Raina White. That seems like it may be a good score. You do not want to see scores in the 9.7s at this competition. If you're counting those scores, you're going to put yourself in trouble as far as advancing.
is such a strong event for Missouri. But the critical thing for them and every team on floor in the landings right here, holding those foot positions down. That's one of the biggest deductions the judges are looking for on this event.
And Sam, it's so hard to do that when you have adrenaline and so much excitement, and then you add the bounce of the podium.
While Hannah Horton was going on floor moments ago, Corinne Benoggin for Alabama. She's following a 9.7, 8.75. Landings have been a problem for Alabama on vault most of the season, but how about this?
She scored back-to-back 9.9s at regionals. That was controlled. Her body precision, you could tell her abs were squeezed during that landing.
Addison Fada now on bars. I'm just still amazed Sam could tell her abs were squeezed.
In order to be good at gymnastics, you have to squeeze every single part of your body, but keep your mind relaxed. And that is so hard to do. Addison stuck both of her bar dismounts at the regional final. They're looking for her to do the same. She's going to do the same dismount we just saw from Lily. Just, I think, a half a tenth on that.
The tiniest of hops for Fada Peterson right before her, a 9.9125. Well done. Anya Pilgrim, a 9.85. Now Victoria Wynn for the Gators.
A Nodi back handspring, very difficult and unique series for Victoria on beam. She is a grad student for Florida and competed a lot this past year. She actually started the season a little rougher because she wasn't living in the moment. And I remember being a senior and having so much pressure on, this is the last SECs, this is the last this is the last that. And it can be an overwhelming thought, but they've been working really hard to flip that mentality. And now she's really making the most of it.
I like this dismount back handspring into 1.5. You have to get a lot more power. Typically, we see gymnasts do a round off 1.5, but because she goes from the back handspring, it really shows her strength to be able to get the height to complete the 1.5 twist.
Hannah Horton, a 9.825 in the second spot for Missouri. Now a freshman for the Missouri Tigers, Kaya Tonskinen. Over on vault, Kylie Kwame will be the fourth gymnast to go. Benoggin, a 9.85 for that great Yurchenko 1.5. Judges tough on vault.
Under-rotated. You can see her upper body was behind her feet when she landed. That's going to be a deduction for Kylie on vault.
On vault, if you take a step back, it's an automatic 1/10 deduction plus the additional step backwards.
Yeah, the judges extra hard when you take that backward step on that 1.5.
And on floor, when we spoke to the Missouri coaches, they told us that they're really working on the athletes keeping their legs together and their feet together in the round-off back handspring. We have a different angle from the judges, but from their angle, they may see that leg separation.
This is an athlete that's really stepped up the last couple of meets. She's really cranked it up a notch in her scoring potential. Really phenomenal athlete. Is going to compete later this year for Finland.
Actually just saw her mom prior to the competition, said, yeah, we're hitting the road next week. So she's right back at that international competition as we see Leanne Wong take to the balance, being one of the best in the country, almost won the all-around here last year. As we look at the score tower on your right, those lightly shaded scores, you can see one score for the teams at the top there that is lightly shaded. That is the low score for that team, and currently the one that they would drop if all other scores are higher.
Leanne is so good at adjusting on this event. She's able to finesse her skills better than anyone I've seen, but she looks really on today.
Faith Torres, she has been a star for this Sooner team all season long. She follows Fada's 9.8375.
And Faith on bars, watch the height of this pack salto from the high bar to the low bar. Gets higher than most athletes on that.
Leanne finishing, gainer fall off the end. Oh, step forward.
And Faith, just another small half a tenth step on those. I think these competitions, those half a tenth steps or hops on those dismounts might make a big difference at the end. And watch the height on this. Really does a good job of watching the low bar.
You know, we haven't seen too many stuck landings. I think these teams are a little nervous. They need to settle in and let their body come to the mat, if you will, and not put so much pressure on the stick. It's such a mental game.
One of the veterans for this Alabama Crimson Tide, Gabby Gladio, she can fly here.
Wow. She really looked like she missed her hand on the block, but that's how incredible of an athlete she is. She's able to put it to her feet, and it was really good.
Yeah, Sam, I actually thought she was going to land short. It looked like she bent her elbows more than she usually does. That was really well done that she was able to get herself around and flip fast enough.
One of the biggest personalities, not just great gymnasts in this competition, is Amari Celestine from Missouri. Here she is.
Amari is the only athlete from Missouri that we're going to see in the all-around.
She's usually the athlete that gets the scores moving up. She got a 9.9 last time she competed, and every score after her is just elevated from there.
Leanne Wong for Florida, just a 9.8 for Leanne Wong. That is a low score on that event. They hit her on that landing for sure. Selena Harris Miranda, a transfer from UCLA into Florida this year. She has been outstanding for them all season long.
Yeah, she's even scored a 10 this year on this event. Left-hand side of your screen, triple series, back handspring layout, back handspring. Perfectly straight knees throughout that combination.
Keeping her foot in, she kept her foot on releve. I think if she put her heel down, she would have gone out of bounds. So incredible body awareness. Out of bounds is, of course, 1/10.
Well, Missouri wants to be undeniable, and moments like that is what makes them undeniable.
You can't overstate that 10th, because once we get down to the end of this competition, again, two teams advancing, you get down to the end, that 10th, even though it happened in the first rotation, can be the difference.
Selena is an athlete that I can just watch her gymnastics all day. The way that she competes beam, it's like she's just hanging out on the floor. And that's exactly what the judges are looking for.
She's been open about being loose, and when she's having fun and loose, that's when she's at her best. Another amazing athlete that can just lock in those landings.
One of the best on the uneven bars, NCAA champ last year. Here's Audrey Davis. Not a lot of high scores so far in this first rotation, only 199 or higher.
Audrey is ranked #1 in the country on this event, and you will see why. Watch her feet, they're glued together. And then when she gets up on the high bar, the flexibility that's required going into this dismount. Most people don't have that flexibility. I certainly don't right here. Didn't quite make that dismount all the way around. Judges could take maybe about a 10th off for that.
Lily Hudson getting ready to go on vault. Gabby Gladio a 9.85. Keep in mind, individual titles at stake here as well for the individual events, and those doing all 4 events, the all-around title at stake.
Your kid's a 1.5. She's an All-American on vault and in the all-around. Couldn't find the stick on this vault, but man, she gets so high off the table.
Not many gymnasts block off the table like Lily Hudson. I've watched it so many times to try to study it, and she turns her wrists and elbows out, and that's, I think, how she blocks so much higher than most athletes.
Sophomore Kennedy Griffin, she was perfect on this event earlier this season, got a 10. Currently ranked at the end of the regular season 14th, tied for 14th on this event. They need a big one here. No 9.9s for Missouri on floor. That's unusual.
Wow, the height on that. She opened up so early. Judges want you to think, did she have to take a step? Or did she want to take a step? That's what you got to ask yourself is that lunge controlled?
Sophomore Alyssa Arana for the Gators, the anchor. She follows a 9.95 from Harris Miranda, the highest score of this first rotation so far.
Coaches have been just speaking volumes about Alyssa, left-hand side of your screen. She's just shown a sense of pride and ownership and confidence when she competes that she didn't have last year.
And Kennedy on floor, that double tuck just went straight up and she opened up right at the exact time.
Alyssa taking her time. Rhythm is so important to the makeup of a beam routine. It can help you feel calm, or it can make you feel more nervous if you rush your routine. Alyssa is doing a nice job of breathing through this.
And Kennedy, she got a 9.95 at SEC Championships. I'm expecting that to be a big score as well.
Thriving in that anchor spot, not a stuck landing, but 6 hit beam routines, and they got what a lot of people think is the most challenging event over with, and that's something to be proud of.
Going back over to the uneven bars, Jordan Bowers, Taylor over on vault. This is Addie Wall from Georgia. We do have some individual qualifiers competing here in this competition. Addie Wall, she qualified from regionals as an individual on the vault.
She has such good air awareness on that vault, doesn't she?
Really does. And what's impressive is she's had to wait for 6 athletes to go in front of her. She's not here with her team, and she's basically by herself. So that's really well done. Very impressive.
I think that would be hard to compete. It's such a team environment for gymnastics. So coming in as an individual, you get your chance, but it's a different environment for them for sure. Jocelyn Moore now, she is the anchor on floor exercise. Missouri still looking for their first 9.9 plus score. Judges across the board, though, have been tight in this first rotation.
And Jocelyn opening up with a double layout. Similar to what we were talking about on bars, judges want to see you keep that consistent body shape throughout. That skill is so difficult. The height that it requires to keep your body laid out 2 flips is really remarkable.
She just exudes swag when she's on the floor. I just am so proud of her and how the coaches speak on what her influence has done to this team and the confidence she gives everyone to elevate them in the performance.
These moments right here, the choreography is very intentional to give her a moment to breathe right before she goes for her last tumbling pass. Couldn't have controlled the landing better than that.
It's really been her strength all year, is to have such commanding landings. She's so sharp too, so it stands out to the judges. I did not move my feet.
I expect Jocelyn's routine to be the highest score for Missouri, and watch this first pass, legs, toes, everything completely straight.
But did you see her heel? She thought she was going to be out of bounds, so played it safe and landed on her toes. Difficult to do.
Another individual competing, this is Madison Ulrich. She's actually doing the all-around. She is from Denver University.
Well done keeping her legs together. That pack salto from the high bar to low bar was really high. Judges allow for a 10-degree window right on top of the bar. I really like the toe point and the extension.
Floated that double layout.
Came up straight in that vertical position.
I think that she was squeezing every single part of her body. Well done. And from this angle to not see any leg separation, that's impressive.
Not going to see too many double layouts better than that. In fact, I might say you won't see any. That was outstanding. Again, Madison qualified in the all-around here, so she's got 3 more events to go.
That's got to feel good.
Now Maya Hooten representing my alma mater, the University of Minnesota. Here comes the Gopher, tremendous floor exercise worker, one of the best gymnasts in Minnesota history. Scored a 10.0 on floor exercise 9 times. 3-time Big Ten champion on this event, also a 2-time Big Ten champion on vault as well.
Oh man, we're in for a treat.
height on that front pike was exquisite.
No landing deduction so far.
And you know, if you want to win an individual title, you have to have the highest score from both sessions today to win it. And I hate to say it, but if you're in this first session, scores are going to be a little bit tighter. You've got to be more than perfect. You've got to beat everybody else by a quarter of a tenth just to tie them, it feels like.
But if there's an athlete that could do it, it's Maya Hooten right here.
Goes for the 3-pass tumbling routine. We see a lot of athletes do too. Love the extra risk. This may be one of the biggest scores of the competition so far.
And that is a career for Maya Hooten. What will it end with? We shall see at the end of the day, but great job for the Golden Gopher. They had a good season this year, finished the regular season in a tie for that 10th spot. Didn't make it here, obviously, as a team. As you see her hugging the head coach from the Gophers, Jenny Hansen.
This first tumbling pass, difficult, but makes it look so easy. Doesn't even need to grab her legs to get herself around.
And look at how the second flip is higher than the first one. That is an exclamation point. She is so expressive, so performative. She's got the dynamic tumbling. Man, she has been fun to watch. I'm gonna miss seeing that routine for years to come.
I agree. I think we could have walked under that front pike. It was so high.
An emotional moment. I remember my last time on the collegiate floor. Great career for Maya Hooten. Watch out for those Gophers. They got a new facility now. I talked to Jenny Hansen before the competition. Said it's really already helped recruiting. So look out for those Golden Gophers as we wait for Maya Hooten score. Over on the right hand of your screen, now look at the team scores. So for those of you following, the top two, we show their team total. But the next team, in this case the Missouri Tigers, that is how far behind they are from the second place team. Same thing for Alabama. That is how far behind Florida they are right now. And if you notice, it is absolutely close. Anybody's competition. The top two teams live on and go to the NCAA finals. And right now, guys, one rotation in, it is neck and neck between all four teams. Here are your scores for your individuals in that last rotation. Mary McDonough, also here from Washington, got a 9.6 on balance beam. One rotation in here in Fort Worth. The Missouri Tigers, what a season they have had. One of the best in their history, maybe the best they have ever had. They certainly have been undeniable.
Session of SECs, check. They wanted to qualify to NCAA championships, check. And now they want to be one of the last four teams who's qualified to the final. It's going to be an incredible journey for them. They've got the swagger to do it.
Yeah, Shannon Welker clearly has them dialed in. Let's talk of the rest of the first session. The Oklahoma Sooners in the top spot, the Florida Gators in the 2 spot. Selena Harris, really a high point for the Gators in that beam rotation.
Selena Harris is an exceptional athlete. Her routines are so exquisite. Watch the toe point, the elbows, everything is just so dialed in. The confidence, and watch the pop up and sticks that dismount.
But another athlete that we can't talk enough about is this one right here, Oklahoma Sooners, Jordan Bowers. She always comes in so clutch in this anchor position and seals the deal with this full twisting double back dismount. Look at it from every angle. It's perfect. She sticks the landing. What can you take on that dismount? There were no to finish. That bar rotation was such a highlight.
Yeah, and that bar routine and that score was kind of indicative of the first rotation. It was a perfect bar routine. She got a 10 on that bar routine in the regional round. It just shows you that the judges maybe a half to a tenth tougher than they have been leading up to this. Here is that regional perfect 10.
This was so exciting. She got a 10 on 3 out of 4 events, and she's the only gymnast in NCAA history to get a 10 3 times in one meet twice.
But you know what's funny is she didn't get any 10s leading up to the regionals, and it's much tougher to score perfect 10s in the postseason because there's more judges. That shows you how phenomenal this athlete is.
Well, Jordan Bowers was dialed in the first rotation. Her and the Sooners heading to balance beam. All right, here we go on to our second rotation. Missouri, a solid start on their best event, arguably the floor in that first rotation. Here they go on vault. Can they stick more than Alabama did? Bama had some trouble on their landing. Let's see what Missouri does as Kennedy Griffin leads things off.
Missouri actually felt like when they moved Kennedy to that lead-off spot, it really elevated them. They're hoping it works out again here today.
Gabby Gladio leading things off for Alabama here on bars. They were sitting in that 4th spot, remember?
And that dismount for Gabby went right up, almost stuck that just ever so slightly shuffle with the foot, going to be a half a 10th.
Any team in the country would be lucky to have Audrey Davis lead off on beam. She's only fallen once in her 5 years, and since then, guess what? She's hit 250 routines in a row, dating all the way back to 2021. That is such an impressive stat.
It really is. It's a 99.6% hit rate. Just amazing. The Oklahoma lineup on beam, Audrey Davis and Faith Torres were co-national champions on this event on beam at national championships last year. They're both opening and closing the beam rotation.
Yeah, what an asset for the Sooners. Going to be tough in that leadoff spot now, Audrey Davis, to win another beam title, but we've seen her be perfect on that event. Victoria Wynn starting things off for the Gators on floor exercise.
Audrey's got that game face on. You can see every time she does a skill, her eyeballs are glued to the end of the beam. That's what I call the #1 rule of beam. So important to help you balance. Oh no, couldn't hang on to the stick there. But man, was it pretty on the beam.
On floor, Victoria, I like watching her arms. She does a good job keeping them parallel to the side, keeps her shoulder blades together, helps her stay even in balance, but also leaves it with a really nice impression.
There's a lot of emotions for all of these seniors competing here today. So whenever they're able to lock in a really solid routine, it's so cool because they've worked hard for all of this.
Tomorrow night on ESPN, the NBA play-in tournament rolls on with the Western Conference 8th place game between the Mavs and the Grizzlies. Coverage of this one begins at 9:30 Eastern time. The winner gets to play the Thunder in the first round. That's your reward for winning that game, is playing the #1 seed, maybe the best team in all of the NBA, the Thunder. Let's get back to athletes that really can get airtime. Enough of that NBA stuff.
You see KJ Kindler here, head coach of Oklahoma, talking to freshman Addison Feda, and she said something different to each girl. She said she goes through the routines with them and reminds them what to be disciplined on, and then she tells Addison to kick butt because she needs a little bit of aggressiveness before mounting the beam.
I love that. Kaya Tonskanen here, the freshman on vault, following Griffin's 9.775.
Step on the landing, but I like how open her hips were in the air.
And I like how that's a vault. We typically don't see a Souk full.
Me too.
Lily Hudson now the second gymnast to go here on bars. That 9.775 from Gabby Gladio, like that Griffin score, those are scores they do not want to count. Both Missouri and Alabama, keep in mind, they're outside the top 2 after rotation 1. They've got to move up.
And Lily, this is the only event Lily hasn't scored a 10 on, and if she does, she will be the first gymnast in Alabama history to score a 10 on every single event.
New dismount coming right up.
Oh, we see that when you just try too hard to stick the landing. We heard so many coaches say just do your normal, but we know the irony is when you're nervous, it's hard to do your normal.
It's easy for us to say, sitting here, to just calm your nerves and let it sink in, but there's a lot of pressure, especially for it being the last, could be the last of these routines for some of these athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I'm seeing in the first rotation in the start of this one? It's like you're on the tee box and you're telling yourself, I've got to hit this 325 yards, and you swing extra hard, and it just doesn't work out as Addison Feda takes to the beam.
John, it's been quite the freshman campaign for Addison, and she told me this week it took her a while to find what works for her in collegiate competition. She said, I'm very bubbly, very outgoing, but I wasn't sure how to translate that to competition. She also acknowledged this is the most that she's competed in her career. She said once it clicked that she could tap in to the team environment, that energy piece of NCAA, is when she really started to love where she is with the Sooners. Sam, it's an interesting element to it that a lot of the elite gymnasts struggle with at first.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, Taylor, that you say that, because head coach KJ Kindler said we're seeing Addison go straight up right now. She had this different demeanor going into SEC, from SECs to regionals. She was really serious at practice, and coaches actually got nervous because they didn't want her to be so nervous for the competition, but really it was focus, and that's why she had such a strong regional performance, is because of this new demeanor.
Gabby Dizador over on floor. I think Addison Feda is a key for the Sooners, and she's been very good all season, but there was just that little step up that I'm like, she's got to get that little step up in that middle of the rotation, turn those 9.85s into 9.9s, and she looks like she's doing it.
Strong finish, almost took a step back and just pulled her momentum straight up and down. Great move.
Victoria win a 9.8625 in the leadoff spot for Florida, but look up the tower there to Alabama, 9.6875 for the Crimson Tide for Lily Hudson. Those two scores, early trouble for Alabama. They have got to turn it around. They've got to turn it around quick. There's not a long runway for getting your meet back on track. Elise Tisler will be the next vaulter from Missouri. Tonskin in 9.8.
Yurchenko full. Highest start value is 9.95. That might be the best landing we've seen so far in this competition. I'm curious to see if some of these fulls outscore those 1.5s because of the landings.
I don't know if Elise could have done it better than that. What was impressive is the height she got onto the table allowed her to keep her elbows really straight.
Elise has a 1.5, but they actually decided to go with this vault, and even though it's technically a downgraded vault, they feel like it's an upgrade because she can do it like that every time in competition. It's a guaranteed strong score for Mizzou.
And as hard as the judges have been on landings, we saw this last year at the NCAA championships. I think all of us sat here and thought, man, the scores are just not as high as we thought they would be, and they are finding the deductions there. But the key is you got to be consistent across the board. Judge all the athletes the same, and it'll work itself out. Lily Peterson, the freshman on beam for Oklahoma. Feda a 9.8625. Peyton Walker, now a big, big moment for Alabama. They have got to put up some 9.8s, or they may have a hole they cannot dig out of.
And great save from Peyton. Check out the height on this. Peyton has a really exciting routine. She's going to do right here on the high bar, finger release move, facing towards the low bar, which if you ask me, that's scary, because
The freshman delivers. They had to have a hit. They got it. Can they get their first score of a 9.8 plus?
And while Peyton was going on bars, this athlete was just moving through this routine, but unfortunate fall and so uncharacteristic. She's usually so consistent and solid. Allie, you were talking about consistency being her superpower on bars.
great finish. It's hard to get back up. She couldn't have done a better dismount than that. And this is her first time here at the national championship. It's a learning experience.
First major break of this competition. It comes from Lily Peterson. Keep in mind, you got to count 5 scores per event. That will not really hurt Oklahoma that much if they can get 3 hits from Bowers, Wells, and Torres, but the pressure going to be on those last 3 athletes. Meanwhile, Florida Gators, they were 1/10 behind the Sooners after that first rotation. This is Danny Ferris. They have a very good floor rotation going so far. Hannah Horton, she can fly on this event. She's on the vault for Missouri.
Oh yeah, I saw her stick one in practice yesterday. It looks so easy, 1.5. Oh man, and you know what? Sometimes when you stick a good amount, you try a little bit harder. It's a continuous theme we're talking about, but that's gonna be the difference maker in this competition. The teams that can let the stick come to you versus trying too hard to make it happen.
Yeah, and also, these athletes are up on the podium waiting their turn, and even if you don't want to pay attention to what's going on around you, they might have heard Lily fall. The whole crowd makes a noise when someone falls. It could have gotten in her head, but also, as you mentioned, when you try to stick, you forget to do the technique right. But Florida just doing routine after routine on floor. They look effortless and calm and consistent.
They're a team that looks like they're just loose and having fun. I watched them at practice yesterday, and it wasn't a perfect practice, but they seemed unfazed by any mistakes, and that's the mark of a team that's going to advance.
Yeah, when we spoke to head coach Jenny Rowland, she said first day of regionals, they were very loose, relaxed. Day 2 of regionals, they were tighter. So I asked them today what's the vibe, and they said they're loose and relaxed, which we can see that in their gymnastics.
So big moment coming up for the Oklahoma Sooners. If you want to have anybody go on your roster after a major break, which we saw from Lily Peterson, she got a 9.275, you want to have Jordan Bowers go. She competes in what I like to call lion mode. You look in her eyes and she is fierce. Can she handle this moment? Chloe LaCourcier handling another big moment for Alabama. Peyton Walker, a 9.7625 in the 3rd spot.
Jordan just needs a 10 on this event. Be it balancing left-hand side of your screen for her gym slam, but she's not thinking about that right now. She's thinking about the team, and she needs to put a hit routine together.
An excellent job for Chloe on bars. Chloe got a 9. Go through her mental preparation in her mind. But typically, athletes start their tumbling right away.
Yeah, it's funny how different athletes are, because that absolutely would not work for me. I like to get a few skills going and locked in, but Jordan is locked in, and I think it doesn't matter if she started with skills.
That one, Bowers delivers in a big way from one superstar to another superstar. Here's Leanne Wong for Florida on-floor exercise.
And Leanne's gonna open up with a double layout.
Oh.
In the air, that was one of the better ones I've seen her do. Just had way too much power. Sometimes when you have too much power, then you add the bounce of the podium on the floor, it actually can make your landing deduction even bigger.
Missouri needs 2 big vaults here. Here's Jocelyn Moore, the veteran.
1.5. She stands it up, took a hop forward, but they just need to stay on their feet in order to stay in the competition here, and Jocelyn Moore can deliver a big one.
Great correction right there. When you're an athlete, you're going on floor, you know you have too much adrenaline. Leanne did a good job of calming her nerves, was able to really control that last pass well.
An athlete that just had a phenomenal career, 2nd among Gators of all time with 11 career 10s. Of course, Trinity Thomas leads that with 28 perfect 10s.
Right here, looked like her had too much power, but also her chest was too far forward in that landing and just bounced back.
2nd in the all-around last year, and she wanted that all-around title, you guys. I know she did. She wants the team title like all these athletes more than anything, but that all-around title will not happen for Leanne Wong, unfortunately. But, man, what a tremendous athlete she has been and certainly will be in the future. Hopefully we'll see her on the elite floor as well. Kira Wells follows Jordan Bowers, 9.9375. And on the uneven bars, Chloe LaCourcier, a 9.9 for Alabama, and Ryan Fuller. I know you love her, Sam. She's tremendous for them.
She is so solid for being such a freshman, for being just a freshman. She's able to handle big moments, get those handstands locked in.
Wow. Excellent. It is so hard to compete under that type of pressure. Well done.
Guys, Kira, left-hand side of your screen, just broke her connection. She's gonna try it again. Very difficult to do a standing switch leap.
And there's no deduction for repeating the skill.
You could tell she's feeling a little nervous, second-guessing her landings just a little bit, but doing a nice job making it work.
She's trying to stay on pace with 1 to go. Torres to drop that 9.275. That is looming for them.
She's happy that she hit that beam routine, because just one more hit beam routine, they're really in the clear here on beam.
Faith Torres has been an absolute rock for the Sooners all season long. She will be their anchor there. Selena Harris-Miranda, she follows a 9.6625 for Leanne Wong. That is the lightly shaded score, and the one that they will drop if they can get Harris-Miranda and Taylor Clark to put up decent numbers here.
And Selena has gotten a 9.9 or better 10 out of 11 routines this year.
Mari Celestine will be the anchor over on Vault, Missouri. Looking for that first 9.9. Jocelyn Moore, 9.8625. They almost got to stick it today to get a 9.9 plus.
Well, her and Jocelyn are usually a 1-2 punch. You see so much height and distance from that vault. Big step forward. Didn't see any sticks. We still haven't seen one stuck. Yurchenko 1.5 so far in this meet. Selena moves so well. She's so fun to watch on this event. You can tell she just loves it.
Sam, she told me yesterday it feels like she's at recess when she's doing gymnastics. I mean, when you watch her, where do you take off?
Tremendous job from Harris-Miranda. Now to finish out the balance beam rotation. Faith Torres, been outstanding for the Sooners all season long. She's second, tied for second in the all-around. Number 3 on balance beam in the country, but she follows a 9.775 from Kira Wells. They're gonna have to count that score. That 9.275 is looming. With a big hit routine, they can wipe that one away, and the damage will be minimal. But Faith Torres has got to hit. Jordan Paradise over on the uneven bars follows a 9.925 from Fuller.
Faith being so aggressive, which is a good sign. That shows confidence on balance beam, especially in this anchor spot, knowing how much is on the line.
And Alabama wants their athletes to hit that handstand at the top of the bar, thinks it will set them up for the dismount.
Faith shared the SEC beam title. Head coach KJ Kindler said beam and floor are like butter to her. They're just so effortless, and they need an asset like this in the anchor spot, because now they're not gonna have to count that fall, and they're back in the game exactly where they wanna be.
I can't begin to describe how difficult it is to go up last when you had to wait. You know there's a fall, you know your routine has to count under that amount of pressure. Well done.
Yeah, that is a huge moment, and the first hiccup for Oklahoma, and they answer the pressure in a big, big way. Selena Harris-Miranda, a 9.8875, so she answers after Leanne Wong put up a 9.6625 as Rosie Casali from Denver, individual on vault.
Under-rotated on the landing, but what a quick twister there.
And Taylor on floor, the straddle jump was well above the 180, so dynamic, so high. Going to double layout what we saw from Leanne Wong.
But look how high she gets.
Wow.
Incredible.
Does that double layout better than most athletes in the world.
this right here, judges are looking for complete, have to finish all the way around. If they don't make their jumps all the way around, they'll get a deduction.
Just a freshman, and she's one of those athletes that has been improving all season long. Landed a bit short, tried to finesse the landing there. Curious to see what the judges will do with that.
You want to have bent legs when you land for a safe landing position, but I think they're going to deduct for that. It was a little bit too low of a squat.
Right now, Florida counting that 9.6625. We'll see what the judges do with this. Should be good enough to overtake that.
And this front through to double tuck. Watch the knees when she lands. Just a little bit too low. Would have loved to have seen her land with her chest up more. But at the end of the routine, we're watching these, they look easy, but it requires a lot of endurance.
Over on the uneven bars, this is Olivia Greaves for Auburn. What a heartbreaker the Auburn Tigers had in the regional final. They just about knocked off the Missouri Tigers. 1/10 of a point, the difference between them and Missouri being here as a team.
Strong finish with that dismount, a few short cast handstands, but man, I'm excited to continue to watch Olivia Greaves' career. She is such a phenomenal bar worker.
Yeah, really a tremendous job the Auburn staff did with their team this year. Lost a couple of big-time all-arounders earlier in the year. They're only all-arounders, and they really managed that roster and their athletes, coached them up, and darn near got to the NCAA championships. Not a lot of people thought that was going to happen. Taylor Clark, 9.8375. So they do drop that 9.6625, and that'll put them 1/10 behind the Oklahoma Sooners. 3/10 ahead, more importantly, 3/10 ahead of the Missouri Tigers, who currently sit in third place. Now on the floor exercise, Mary McDonough from the University of Washington. All-around competitor here as an individual.
What's cool, watching the individual athletes come in, we mentioned they don't have their teammates here that they're used to, but the teams that they're with really embrace them. They cheer for them, and they kind of bring them on as their own. It's really cool to see. And was a little bit off on that back layout step out, but did a good job recovering it. I'm curious if she wasn't able to get the proper bounce because of that 4-inch mat. It's a little bit softer. Doesn't give you that same spring as the floor would.
But man, I watched this athlete at regional, that she is such a stud. Good clean gymnastics. That's what I noticed from her throughout the regionals.
Oh. Looked like she punched for out of the front handspring with her chest way too far back for that front handspring double twist to go well. You actually don't want to be fully upright. You want to actually be 10, 15 degrees forward.
So Mary McDonough finishing up that floor rotation. 2 more to go for her. She's competing in the all-around competition. Oklahoma, they will have the lead again after this second rotation. The Florida Gators, though, after that floor exercise, 1/10 behind. And Taylor Davis is with the head coach, Jenny Rowland.
Thank you.